What's good, everybody? Welcome into the Wilbur and Gold Show. I'm your host, Will Dalton, a.k.a. Wilbur and Gold. And we're working with some asparagus right now. Little olive oil, lemon juice, Texas Pete, pepper. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but it was hungry. But it was also showtime, so that's what we're working with. Episode 11. And also, first live show. All right, I'm not going to be able to eat and do this at the same time, so that's going to have to wait. First live show. And it's going to pretty much all be live shows from here on out just because, one, it's easier. You just do it, and then boom, it's out there. Two, I thought it'd be good for me personally to get more practice actually doing this live, since that's most of what sports casting and sports reporting is live action. Because I mean, sports, it changes so much and so quickly that, I mean, something could happen mid-show, and if I record something, it's like, if I record and then slurring my words already. If I record and then something happens between the time that I film it and then put it out, it's just like it's old, and it just, I don't know. I thought it'd be better to do this live. So to get going here, NFL draft has come and gone since last I did a show. I would say for the most part, it went about how we thought, at least the first couple picks. I mean, Burrow to the Bengals, Chase Young to the Redskins, Okuda to the Lions. I think where it started to get interesting was obviously that move by the Packers to get Jordan Love. We're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to get into the Dallas Cowboys a little bit. And Dak, his situation. Jameis Winston going to the Saints. Cam still looking for a job. There's a lot of things going on, a lot to get into. And then also the whole name, image, likeness thing with college sports and the NCAA. I'm not going to touch that too much just because that's a little bit out of my lane, not the college sports aspect of it, because, I like college sports as much as pro sports. And there was actually a time that I liked college more. Now it's kind of even leveled off. But with the name, image, likeness, there's certain basic things that I know about it. I don't know all the ins and outs of everything, so I'm not even going to go there. But there was a couple points I wanted to get. I'm going to start out actually. Jalen Hurts going to the Eagles. That, to me, was an interesting move. Obviously not as interesting as Jordan Love to the Packers, but a lot of people, they took Hurts in the second round, and I love Jalen Hurts. I think he's been very underrated up to this point. He was underrated at Alabama, ended up losing his job to Tua, and then obviously Jalen Hurts transferred to Oklahoma. Was kind of in the Heisman conversation there for a while, and until he wasn't. But I think personally Jalen Hurts is very underrated, and I really want to see him do well in the NFL. But everybody in their mind, well, not as much as the Packers situation, but I mean, people just get upset half the time. People are like, oh, Carson Wentz should, seek a trade now because guys, I don't even have much to get into on this. It's just one little point that I wanted to point out, because that's what you do with the point you pointed out. How did the Eagles win the Super Bowl a couple of years ago against the Patriots? Because Carson Wentz went down. He was having an MVP season. And, I think it was week 14. They might have been playing the Patriots maybe, but I don't know. I don't think they were. Maybe Steelers? I don't know. I think it was week 14. and he gets hurt. And then Nick Foles came in. And then obviously we know the rest. They went on an epic playoff run with a backup quarterback, ended up winning the Super Bowl against the Patriots. How did they do it? With a backup quarterback. What's Jalen Hurts going to be? A backup quarterback. It's a smart move to me by the Eagles. Everybody's getting upset, acting like, now Carson Wentz has got competition and he should be getting a sign from the Eagles that, just stop. Carson Wentz has had injury issues up to this point. And, Jalen Hurts is an insurance policy, a very good insurance policy. Now, part of me actually didn't like the move because I really wanted to see Jalen Hurts in more of a position where he could start. And he's obviously not going to start right now over Carson Wentz. And a part of the reason why I also don't like is because Wentz is just now entering his prime. And, he just recently, well, not recently, but like last year signed a big deal. I don't remember for how many years, but it's a big long-term deal. And, I would like to see Jalen Hurts more in a position where, give him a year and a half, 2 years, and he's, boom, the starter. So I wasn't crazy about that for his side of things. I'm sure he's thrilled just to be in the NFL. But I think from the Eagles side of things, very smart because they know, because they've been there before. How do we win the Super Bowl before? With a backup quarterback. What's Jalen Hurts going to be? Probably a better backup quarterback than Nick Foles was. Better quarterback talent. Whether he could command, which from what I've seen and heard about Jalen Hurts, I think he is kind of a locker room leader type. So I think he could do that just as well as Nick Foles did. But yeah, I like it for the Eagles. I don't like it so much for Jalen Hurts just because I'd like to see him in more of a position where he's going to be a starter at some point soon. But I get why the Eagles did it. So enough with Carson Wentz needs to go get a trade. Stop. Jameis Winston to the Saints. Last time I did a show, well, no, it wasn't the last show. It was the one before that. I was talking about how I thought Jameis Winston would be perfect to go to the Steelers. And the main reason I felt that way was because, Big Ben and Jameis Winston have been compared to each other time and time again. Just they're similar in their body type, their build, play type, and they're just very similar in that aspect. So now he's going to the Saints. And I would make the argument that that's maybe even a better spot for him than the Steelers, even though him and Big Ben have so much in common. I think you can make the argument Drew Brees is more of a mentor type person than Big Ben. I'm not saying Big Ben wouldn't be a good mentor, but I do think that Drew Brees is more cut out for it. I think we've seen that throughout the years. However, I do think that this move, Jameis Winston to the Saints, I think it's going to relaunch his career. I really believe that because of what I just mentioned, Drew Brees being a mentor type. So he's going to be really good with that. And I think he's going to be really good for Jameis. But it's not even so much that he's going to be a good mentor. It's going to be what he's a good mentor at. And what I mean by that is Jameis Winston has so much potential. He was number one in the league in passing touchdowns. He was I think he was number 2 in passing yards, but he was also number 1 in interceptions to match it. So it just kind of almost canceled it out, how great he was passing the football. So my whole thing is, well, what makes Drew, what does Jameis Winston need help with? Accuracy. He's got it sometimes clearly because he leads passing yards, passing touchdown. He has it. Sometimes it's there, but then until it's not there with the interceptions. So he needs help on accuracy. What has made Drew Brees one of the many things? What has made him so lethal and one of the all-time great quarterbacks, especially somebody for his size, his accuracy. And so I think that is going to make a big difference. I think Jameis Winston, I think it's a 1-year deal. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens because, I mean, it's basically a Teddy Bridgewater type situation. Only I would argue this is more in favor for Jameis than it was for Teddy, even though Teddy did great. Now he's got a job with the Panthers after going 5-0, I believe it was, either 4-0 or 5-0 as the Saints starter when Drew Brees had his little thumb injury or whatever it was. I think it's going to be better for Jameis, mainly because Drew Brees, this could be his last year. I've heard that he may have a broadcasting deal in the works. And so I think the extension that Drew Brees signed this offseason was for 2 years, I think. But there has been rumors that this is his last year. I remember Sean Payton, head coach of the Saints, was on Get Up like a month ago. And he was on there talking about Drew Brees. And I think he had like a slip up saying that this was it for Drew Brees or his last years. He had a little bit of a slip up. And so a lot of people speculated, oh, he just let it out. What's, going to be the deal? So maybe not. But I also have heard about the broadcasting deal which he's going to be great at that. There's just certain players in the NFL. There's no doubt they're going to, Drew Brees, Greg Olsen. There's just some players that they're made for broadcasting after football. They're just made for it. And I think Drew Brees is one of those guys. And so that's very believable. So yeah, I think there's a good chance this could be the last year for Drew Brees, which means Jameis Winston could be in a good position to be the starter for the Saints next year after Drew Brees is gone. Or he could just pull a Teddy Bridgewater and go find another team. I don't, obviously you don't wish any injury on anybody. I assume Drew Brees is going to stay healthy the whole year, but somebody his age, you never know. But regardless, it's going to be really good for Jameis, and I'm saying it here now. I really think this is going to relaunch his career. So that's my 2 cents on that. So now let's move more into the NFL draft side of things. Actually, before I get to that, I wanted to kind of do the name, image, likeness thing, just because I don't have a ton to. I want to go deep on it. As I explained already, I'm just not educated enough on all the details. But I heard it's such a complex situation, which is, again, why I'm not educated and I'm not going to go deep on it. But I will say that there's a lot of people out there that try to make the arguments that, oh, well, without college sports or without college basketball, we wouldn't know who Zion Williamson is. We wouldn't know who Trey Jones is. We wouldn't know who Tyler Hansborough is from UNC back in 2009, the GOAT of college basketball in my estimation. We wouldn't know who all these elite players are that do end up going to college, maybe staying a year or two. The Zions, the RJ Barretts, we wouldn't know about them if they didn't go to college. And I would argue against that because, to me, I think the players make the players and the coach, especially in college sports, the players and the coaches make up the team and their team's brand and the team's reputation. I just think that Zion's brand is so strong. He could have gone to any school. He could have gone to G League if that was a possibility for him. And now it's seeming that a lot of players that are top-ranked high school prospects, they're skipping college through some type of process. And like I said, I don't know the details. I just know there's a way now that they can skip over, maybe go straight to the G League. But I don't know all the details again. I'll just say I hope college basketball, college sports, it's going to be fine. Because even back when players were allowed to go straight to the NBA, like, LeBron, D. Wade, Kevin Garnett, all these types of players back in the day, 2003 was the last draft class that had players coming straight from high school to the NBA. That was part of LeBron, D Wade, Chris Bosh's draft class, even though Chris Bosh went to Georgia Tech. College sports is going to be fine if they do, which, it's so up in the air right now. You don't know what's going to happen, but there's a lot of people that would prefer we go back to, if you want to go straight from high school to the NBA, you can, do away with the one and done crap. There's a lot of people that would be for that. I think college sports would be just fine, even if you didn't have the Zions and players of that caliber, which there's not many players that have been up to Zion's caliber, but you know what I mean, the lottery picks and types like that, because college sports was fine before. And so maybe it wouldn't be quite to the level of when Zion was in the league and players like that, but college sports is going to be fine because I think the competitiveness. However, though, college sports will be fine if the NCAA gets this name, image, likeness thing right. If they don't, college sports is in trouble. It just is. And if those of you that don't know, the name, image, likeness is simply because what it is basically third parties, aka businesses like, God, I hope we get NCAA video games back. But for example, because that's the one that relates the most to me and I know how to explain it the best, third party money, they're not going to be getting paid by the school. Third party money is basically the player. Let's say you've got one of the better players in college basketball. And let's just say NCAA was bringing back college basketball video games. Well, they could pay so-and-so to be on the cover of the game. And he would actually be able to get money for it now, as opposed to before, where players getting put on billboards or their jerseys getting put on billboards or their silhouette with their number getting put on a billboard or whatever. Well, they're not getting any money for it. I remember Ben Simmons telling a story once that he had his jersey up on a billboard right after he committed to LSU. I think it was like He's Coming or something like that. And he got nothing for it, but he's giving them all this publicity and he's getting zero. Now you got people that are like, oh, but they're getting, their scholarship, their room and board, they're getting all this stuff. Yes, from the school, but that's what they're supposed to be getting from the school. But if somebody has that status or they're just that good, they should be able to make money off of it. They should be able to have that as a possibility. And so it's just such a complex situation, but that is what that's basically what this is. Name, image, likeness, third party money coming to players from businesses to endorse things like that. They wouldn't be getting money from the school. And so, yeah, that's as far as I'm going to go on that. But I will say the one thing I can predict on this is that college sports will be fine, but they got to get this name, image, likeness thing right. If they allow players like Zion, players like Jahlil Okafor when he was back at Duke, players like Justin Jackson, Marcus Page from Carolina, players like that, Dennis Smith Jr. when he was at NC State, players like that of that caliber, if they allow players to start going or making the decision, just give them the opportunity to make up their own mind on this stuff. If they give them the opportunity to go straight from high school to the league, but college sports will be fine if they do that. However, they have to get the name, image, likeness thing right. If they don't, and if they botch it, this little route to the G League through high school that I don't know the details of it, but that whatever that is, that's going to crush college basketball, and it's just going to be a downward cycle. I can already, you just hearing people talk about it, Jay Billis's, Jalen Rose, people like that actually know about this shit. It sounds like it would just be a downward spiral for the NCAA. So that's where I stand on that. I'm thirsty. That was a lot. I I really didn't even know if I wanted to go into the whole NCAA thing just because it's just so. But I had a few little nuggets that I wanted to get off. Anyway, there's that. What else? So now we'll get into the NFL, the fun stuff here. So I'll get to the Packers and Jordan Love and all that in a minute, and then I'll get to Dak, and we'll wrap up the show with Dak and the Cowboys, because that's probably the most juicy one of all, those two right there. Because I'm a Panthers fan, and because quietly the Panthers had one of the better drafts of probably any team, I want to go at that for just a minute. So if you don't know, and unless you follow it closely or you're a Panther fan or you're just an NFL guru, you'll know the Panthers went all defensive players in their draft. They had the number 7 overall pick, so they were pretty high. It was pretty obvious they were not going to try and go for one of the 4 marquee quarterbacks, a.k.a. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, and Tua, after they got Teddy Bridgewater and then PJ Walker from the XFL. So that there was no need to get a quarterback at this point. But the Panthers, they drafted Derek Brown with their number 7 overall pick, who is, well, such a good pick. And it didn't blow my mind because I understand how sports fans are and they're very reactionary. We've all been like that at one point or another. Because Isaiah Simmons of Clemson was on the board. Panthers had that opportunity. One of the better defensive players in the draft. Very versatile. However, the Panthers went with Derek Brown out of Auburn. And a lot of people were upset at first, but then when people started learning more about Derek Brown, as I did immediately because I was curious who this guy was, Panthers got a great pick. I mean, a big reason of why Auburn was as good as they were this year was because of his influence on the inside, a defensive tackle. He is. Really great pick. And from everything I've heard about it, Panthers fans better get excited for this guy because, one, great locker room guy, great work ethic from what I've seen. And both analysts and NFL scouts have described him. Not only is he quick for a defensive tackle, somebody big, but he has Aaron Donald-like power. And if you know anything about Aaron Donald, you know that's a good thing to hear. So they got him at number 7. I'm not going to pronounce his first name because I haven't looked at it in quite a while, but his last name is Gross Matos, Penn State linebacker. And supposedly this guy's one of the more versatile linebackers in the draft. He's also quick. He's also got power. And Panthers took Chin in the later rounds, who's a corner. And then some others that I forgot their names. But supposedly from the analysts that actually look closely at these things, many of them are like, Panthers had a great... It was quiet because, everybody was looking at the quarterbacks and all those picks. Panthers quietly this offseason have gotten pretty solid on paper, and I think they're going to be pretty competitive this year. However, I'm struggling to say they're going to win a lot of games. I can't do it. Again, quietly, the Panthers have had a really good offseason. Really good. They got Teddy Bridgewater. They got PJ Walker out of the XFL, both of those quarterbacks. Teddy Bridgewater obviously will be the quarterback starter. Great draft. Completely retooled the defense because that was one of the areas that they needed to retool, was the defense. The other one obviously being the offensive line, which is where I'm getting ready to go with this. And then obviously the big one, they got Christian McCaffrey paid, which I think was a very smart move. A lot of people were kind of iffy on that because, historically the numbers are not in McCaffrey's favor as far as when running backs get paid, whether it's Ezekiel Elliott, Todd Gurley, David Johnson, which is probably the most out of all of them. David Johnson was the worst deal out of all of them. But, typically a running back gets their money after finishing their rookie deal, and then it's like they decline. However, the difference with McCaffrey is he's 23. He's the youngest out of all these great quarterback or running backs that have gotten paid. You don't even know if he's in his prime yet. Since he's gotten in the league, he's climbing. He went 1,000 and 1,000 plus on receiving yards and yards on the ground this year. And he's still on the climb. Like, you don't know, like, he's just entering his prime. Like, all these other running backs, when they got paid, the youngest one of all of them, I think, was either Todd Gurley or Ezekiel Elliott at 24. Like, David Johnson was 26. Le'Veon Bell was 27 when he got his money. Christian McCaffrey's 23. And even if he's just entering his prime, that's a good thing. We don't know if he's quite gotten into his prime yet because he's constantly getting better. And so I think that's going to be a big reason why the Panthers come out on the right side of that big deal that they gave McCaffrey for. It's been so long since I've looked at it. I forgot exactly how much that he's getting. I think it's like maybe 60-some million overall. But don't quote me on that. Please, God, don't quote me on that because I haven't looked at his deal in so many weeks. But yeah, a big deal, good deal, and I think they're going to win that deal because that they got him as he's entering his prime. Maybe if he's entering his prime yet. We don't even know. But anyway, I said all that to say this. They've done all these things, McCaffrey, the defense in the draft, Teddy Bridgewater. They made all these moves. Yet, the offensive line, it's not there yet. They got that guy from the Chargers several months ago in a trade. But their offensive line was 31st in the league last year. And part of the problem that the Panthers have had religiously over the last handful of years has been their quarterback, whether it was Cam Newton, which is part of the reason why he got as banged up as he did. I know Cam liked to run already, but half the time when he was running, it's because he was having to run for his fucking life because the O-line was trash. And obviously Kyle Allen, you throw, a rookie essentially quarterback into that. When they had the 31st ranked offensive line in the NFL last year, he was, he started out good, but then he just was running for his life the whole time. Like, I've fallen into the trap too many times with the Panthers thinking, all right, they look pretty good on paper. They did last year. But if your quarterback here's the problem Teddy Bridgewater is going to have until they fix the O-line. The Saints had the 5th ranked offensive line last year, which is why a big and the weapons, obviously. Panthers don't have the weapons that the Saints did as far as receivers. Panthers do have a solid receiving core, especially now that they added Robbie Anderson, a good deep threat, to go along with DJ Moore and other receiver they have. Everything's leaving my mind on this live stream. Whatever. They got a solid receiving core, but it's not going to be the same. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be, he's going to struggle until they fix the O-line. And so, yeah, Panthers quietly, really, really good offseason. On paper, they're really solid. They're really competitive. But until they get that O-line right, and they made a move with the Chargers, so they got a new left tackle in there, so that'll help. But the 31st offensive line, I've seen it too many years. Until they get that right, I don't care. They're not going to win a lot of games. I don't see them winning more than 4 games, tops. And that 4th game, I believe, was against the Falcons at home that I wasn't sold if they would win it or not. They may not win more than 3 games, which is why, even though they're going to be competitive, I still think low-key the Panthers are in tank mode. They're going to be competitive. They're still working on building the foundation. Just because you're tanking doesn't mean you have to be like just bombs and explosions going off everywhere. Like, you can still be building a foundation and be competitive, but not win games. Like, just because you're close doesn't mean you won. Like, I think they're going to be right in the running there for Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. I really do. I think the Patriots will too, which is why I don't think they're going to take Cam Newton. That's a whole other topic. Speaking of Cam Newton, which actually segue to that, I don't think Cam is going to the Patriots because, one, they would have gotten him already if he was. 2, they're more in tank mode than the Panthers are, I think. Like, they just lost the GOAT that they've had for 2 decades. Stidham is not going to fix that. Sorry to break it to you. Stidham is not, which most of you probably know that Stidham's not the answer. They're going to be I think the Patriots and the Panthers are going to be very similar this year as far as they're going to be competitive. I think the Panthers will be more competitive than the Patriots, but they're going to be competitive. They're going to continue to build a culture, but they're not going to win a lot of games. And because there's a lot of teams that are taking quarterbacks that took quarterbacks in this last draft. So there's a lot of teams that don't need quarterbacks anymore. And what was already a very, the supply and demand of quarterbacks was more off this offseason than it has been in 20 years, as far as there's more quarterbacks, good quarterbacks. There's just more of them than there are jobs to be had. So now there's even less. And really, now that more teams have gotten a quarterback, there's really only a couple teams that are going to be in tank mode or, trying to be in a position to get a new up and coming franchise quarterback. And I think it's going to be the Panthers, the Patriots, the Jags, maybe another couple teams that I'm forgetting, but those are the 3 that stick out to me. So no, I don't think Cam's going to the Patriots. That's a long way of saying that. And I'm worried, I hate it. Cam is my favorite football player. I'll just say it. Like, he's Superman. Like, I hate it. I hate, I'm staying objective about his situation. I'm not like all the keyboard wars. It's like, oh, this and that. Like, Cam is in a situation, and I got some flack for this on Twitter this week, just yesterday, if I'm being completely honest, because I went on there because I like to engage, and I said, look, Cam is probably going to have to take a backup role for the first time in his career. He just is. And I got a lot of people, hate. Well, what I exactly said, if Cam wants to be back in the NFL, the way he really says he wants to be back in the NFL with all the hype videos and everything he's doing on his YouTube and Instagram and everywhere else, he will take a backup role for now and work his way back in because he's Cam, and he will work his way back in, but he's going to have the humility if he wants to get in this year anyway, which is kind of the second part of what I'm getting at. If he wants to get in this year, he's going to most likely have to take a backup role. Unless he goes to the Jags, which is possible, or the Patriots, not likely anymore. Sure as hell not the Chargers because they took Justin Herbert. I could see him going and starting for the Jags. Gardner Minshew's not going to beat out Cam. Sorry, he's not. I think that's one of the only places that he could go, and as soon as he signs, he's in the starting conversation. Anywhere else, he's going to be fighting to get in to the starting conversation, and he's going to be kind of pretty much a backup for sure. I think the Titans, and I said this on one of the last episodes I did a few weeks ago, I think the Titans would be, if he were to back up, I think the Titans would be a great spot because they had a great offensive line last year. I mean, Cam could literally go and pull a Ryan Tannehill on Ryan Tannehill, Ryan Tannehill waited around behind Marcus Mariota. Mariota fell flat on his face. Tannehill got the opportunity, and he capitalized, and they made a nice playoff run, and then he got paid at the end of the year. Tannehill did. I could see Cam doing that because I don't think Tannehill's all that. I think he got on a hot streak. I think he had a good streak going. And I think Cam could beat him out over time. I mean, you put Cam behind a really good offensive line, which he hadn't had very many times in his career. That's A. And B, you put Derrick Henry behind him as the running back. Two physical forces. Cam, a 6'5" running quarterback, if you let him run, which he has to run. Like, he's not Cam unless he's running. He's just not. You put that type of run threat in a quarterback and then give him another force of a running threat and a big body in Derrick Henry behind him, behind that offensive line. You're trying to tell me that would not be Super Bowl caliber? Like, Titans would immediately be favorites to face the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. Immediately. And, that would be so good. I'm kind of fired up to see that happen, though. It's not likely, I don't think, him going to the Titans, but God, could you imagine Cam behind that O-line with Derrick Henry behind him as a don't get me excited. Anyway, don't have Cam anymore. We got Teddy. I like Teddy Bridgewater, but he ain't Cam. Sorry. Anyway, so no, if he wants to get back in this year, Cam Newton is going to have to be a backup. And from what I'm hearing and just observing, I don't think Cam wants to do it. I don't think Cam wants to be a backup, which I get it because he's Cam Newton. He's not a fucking backup. He's in a situation. His situation is because of his injury history, because of the situation with the coronavirus where travel restrictions, and he can't, because his health is such a question, he can't go work out for people. And I'm sorry, but a fucking tape on YouTube of you working out, it's not going to do it. Like with somebody with his injury history, you have to see him, especially if you're going to invest money in him in a starting spot. Like you have to work with him in person, and you can't really do that right now. So the only way Cam's going to be a starter this year is if he goes to the Jags or if he waits until a starting quarterback goes down in the season. That's the only way he's going to be a starter this year, at least right away. I mean, otherwise he could take a backup role and then maybe work his way into a starting situation, but it doesn't sound like he wants to do that, because I would guess, just because there's always stuff going on behind the scenes that we can't see, I would guess because Andy Dalton signed relatively quickly after getting dropped by the Bengals. He's going to the Cowboys. I would argue Cam has already been given some offers to be a backup, and he's turned it down. I would dare say that's a fact. So if he wants to be a starter, he might just want to sit out the season and then come back in fresh next year. That might be his best bet at being a starter. So on to the Packers and Jordan Love. That whole deal. Now we're getting to the fun stuff. Man. So the Packers moved up, and with the 26th pick in the first round, they take Jordan Love, who was kind of the fourth quarterback on that top four marquee list this year. Joe Burrow to Justin Herbert. Then there was Jordan Love, who is kind of a Patrick Mahomes-ish quarterback, both with how he plays and just his situation, because he wasn't as big of a name as maybe Tua and Joe Burrow. And I think maybe the Packers think that's what he could become. He maybe. And it got, as was to be expected, the Packers, received a lot of flack on social media from the Packers fans. Go figure, right? Aaron Rodgers if there's three now. If there's three quarterbacks that their job should be in concrete, in theory, it's Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and Aaron Rodgers. Those are just kind of the three that come to mind that sit at the top of the pyramid. And look, I'm just going to go ahead and put it this way. This is my opinion on this. What the Packers did, moving up, keep in mind, what's interesting about it, they didn't just wait till their turn in the round and Jordan Love fell to them and he's there. All right, let's get him. They moved up to get him. It's very intentional what they did. And Aaron Rodgers already has a history of, he's got a big ego. I mean, go figure. He's probably one of the greatest, now that Patrick Mahomes, he's one of the greatest quarterback talents we've seen. He's not as accomplished as Tom Brady, but Tom Brady is not as physically with the skills and things like, he's not as good of a quarterback as Aaron Rodgers as far as physical talent. He's just not. So Aaron Rodgers has already had a little bit of friction with the Packers at times, at least it seems. You know, he had friction with Mike McCarthy, and maybe he's even had friction with Matt LaFleur, the new head coach that we couldn't even see, especially after the Packers made this move. But the Packers were very intentional about this. They moved up, got Jordan Love, and my opinion on it, it was a very smart move, but they were very stupid with how they made it. Let me explain. Here we go. So Aaron Rodgers has 4 more years on his deal. And he just signed it not that long ago. He's in slight decline already. Not much for you Packers fans out there that are giving, oh, no, he's not. He's on slight decline. His numbers were a little off, but even with his numbers being a little down this year, they were still better than everybody else's pretty much. So what are you complaining about? He's pushing 40, okay? I think he's 38, 39, 37. He's pushing 40. Even Aaron Rodgers has said himself that he's on the back 9 of his career. Take it easy. It was a smart move because what most teams do is they wait until the erosion is almost complete of their quarterback that's been their guy for the last several years. And, you know, a la Eli Manning, a la Tom Brady with the Patriots, even though he's not quite done, like he's still got more left in him, but they're a good example. The Patriots are a good example of this because they had Jimmy Garoppolo that could be very valuable for the Patriots right now, but they pushed him out the door because Kraft and Tom Brady was like, nah, I'm still the guy here. Belichick wanted Garoppolo, but Kraft and, you know, Brady was like, eh. And, you know, Kraft bowed to Brady's wishes, of course, because that's just how that situation always went. And Belichick was probably getting a little tired of that. But they pushed Garoppolo out the door. The Packers are welcoming Jordan. They're doing the opposite. They're welcoming Jordan Love in. And, you know, typically when you make a move like this really quickly and early in that process, people tend to get upset because they're so used to what they're used to. I mean, you saw with Panthers fans and Cam Newton this year, which it was a little bit of a different situation, but kind of not really, because look, from a business side of this, and that's what this comes down to, people. It's a business. Like us hardcore fans, like we're hardcore. Like we love these players. We love our team. Like we get used to things being the way we like them. But then you forget this is a business. This is a company. This is an organization. Like they got to do what's in their best interest and their bottom line's best interest. And look, Cam Newton has got to, as much as I hate it, and as much as he was so good, and he gets it's downplayed, and it pisses me off. It's downplayed how good he was in that 2018 season leading up to his injury. Through 9 games, he had already shattered his numbers from his 2015 MVP season through 9 games. Then he got hurt, and then we all know the rest. It is what it is. It sucks, but it's still David Tepper. I mean, look, and you could have saw it coming. I mean, David Tepper, which honestly, it's why deep down I'm kind of convinced Tepper's going to win us some Super Bowls. I'm pretty convinced that. You don't like it now when, somebody comes in and cleans out the crap and cleans out the residue of what was, but sometimes you just got to do it. Sometimes you need a change of scenery. As much as I love Cam, as much as I love Luke Kuechly, he just retired. As much as I loved Greg Olsen and Eric Reed as a defender, and obviously Ron Rivera as a head coach, Tepper came in and he wanted to put it, he said it. He's like, I've been operating the business stuff and making changes on the business side of things for the Panthers since I got here a couple years ago. Now I'm ready to put my fingerprints on the football side of stuff. And he cleaned it out. The Panthers were a straight up clean house job this offseason. From the time Ron Rivera got let go with 4 games left in the season to Cam Newton when he got released way too late and was kind of the odd man out as far as finding another quarterback spot. Tepper cleaned the house. That's what he did. And so obviously fans are not going to like it. But in the end, and in the big picture, which is what you have to look at with these things, and that's what the Packers did. Now, granted, I said they were smart, but they executed it stupid. It was smart because they were looking at the big picture. They probably knew. Now, granted, there might be tensions between the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, and that might have played a factor too. But in the big picture, Aaron Rodgers has slightly started his decline, and they're probably thinking, all right, this Jordan Love guy, he might turn out to be a Patrick Mahomes type character. Let's be on the right side of history here, and let's go ahead and get him and go ahead and get him groomed, go ahead and start the process. Here's the part. All of that was smart. All the best businesses, best companies, they see stuff early and they move quickly. Because most everybody else is doing the opposite. They're sticking to what's comfortable and the old stuff as opposed to being non-emotional about business and jumping on what's going to work and which you can see is going to work in the future, in the big picture of things. So the Packers were smart about that. Here's where they were stupid. Aaron Rodgers has 4 more years left on his deal. 4. Aaron Rodgers is not going to lose his job to Jordan Love this year. Probably not even next year. Why are you going to draft the quarterback in the first round and have him sit for at least 3 years? Why are you going to do that? Why are you going to do that? He's not going to do that. The Packers they made a mess. In theory, what they did was really smart, but they made a mess. They really did, because Rodgers has 4 more years left. He has not had enough decline to already be looking for a replacement with 4 years left. Now, I'm not going to be one of these people that are saying, oh, Rodgers never has any help. Yes, he does. Aaron Jones, great running back. He's had great receivers. I don't remember how good their O-line was, but given Aaron Jones' success, probably pretty solid. I'm not going to go as far to be like, oh, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have any help. Yes, he does. They got to the NFC NFC Championship game. They were 1 game from the Super Bowl this year, which is why what they did was stupid. If you're at the NFC Championship game, as far as getting and winning a Super Bowl, and the NFC Championship is where you left off in that process. And instead of getting more weapons that are going to help you get you over the hump and put you in the Super Bowl and maybe even win the Super Bowl, it's going to be hard against the Chiefs, but maybe. Why are we already looking to the replacement of Aaron Rodgers when he's barely started to decline and when you were 1 game away from the Super Bowl? Why are you going to do that? What are we thinking? In theory, what you did was smart, But that's maybe if Rodgers had 2 years left on his deal. He's got 4, and you just were 1 game away from the Super Bowl. And Brett Favre went on the Rich Eisen show and was like, look, this has probably burned a bridge, which already wasn't very stable between the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. But it's probably burnt the bridge, like, because Rodgers with that ego. And he's going to be the bigger guy. Like, he's going to do the right things, and he's not going to be a dick to Jordan Love, I don't think. Don't listen to people telling you that, because I don't think he would do that, because it's not Jordan Love's fault. It's nothing against Jordan Love. He's a good cornerback. And like I said, maybe Patrick Mahomes-ish type stuff. It's hard to say because of how good Mahomes is, but Mahomes wasn't Mahomes stuff at first until he was. So, like, let's just say it for what it is. It's nothing against Jordan Love, but why are you already looking for the succession plan when you have 4 more years on Aaron Rodgers' deal and you were 1 game away from the Super Bowl? Why would you do that? The Packers just fucked up their chances of even getting to the Super Bowl now, because this is going to cause so much tension in that locker room. I really believe that. I think it's going to cause tension. It's going to cause Aaron Rodgers to leave. He's not going to be there 4 more years. And I'm worried. I don't know enough about Jordan Love, so I don't know. There's players that you can look at them and their makeup and their character. You can just look at them and know they're going to be mentally tough enough to handle certain things. I don't know enough about Jordan Love to sit here and be like, oh, he's not going to be able to handle the pressure of all this crap going on at the top with Rodgers and the Packers. But this could hurt Jordan Love, all this crap going on. It could. I'm not going to make a statement like that because I don't know enough about Jordan Love, but it could. There's players that it would have. So the Packers might have a clusterfuck on their hands. Like, Aaron Rodgers is not going to complete his career in with the Packers. He's not going to do it. He's not going to finish out this contract with the Packers. I don't know how many more years he's got with the Packers. Maybe this year, maybe he probably get traded after this season, I bet. That would, based on the things that Brett Favre said, and you can go and look at the whole interview. It was last week on the Rich Eisen show. You can check it out. Based on what he said, I'd give Rodgers 1 more year, 2 tops with the Packers, and then he's out. Because this burned the bridge, and this probably shattered what little bit of relationship he had with the Packers. So, Packers made in theory, they made a really smart move, already seeing the big picture, getting Jordan Love in. In theory, that would have been a good move. But with what the situation actually was, with being that close to a Super Bowl, having Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback for 4 more years under contract, really fucking stupid. So now we're going to finish with this. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. So there's all this talk. There's been a few stages to this whole situation. Obviously, Dak is trying to get his money. He's already been offered. So here's what happened. He was offered an initial $33 million a year, $105 guaranteed. That was the first contract he was offered about a month ago. He turned it down. He turned down a contract. He would have been the 4th highest paid quarterback in the league. He would have had the 4th spot on that as far as the guaranteed money, because I think it goes Jared Goff, Russell Wilson's 3rd on that list. I forget who's number 2. Oh, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Russell Wilson. Then it would have been Dak with 105 guaranteed. Russell Wilson and Carson Wentz are either 108, I think. And then Goff, I think, is like 110. Dak turned down a $33 million deal. So when I hear, and then he got franchise tagged, which means, and he hasn't signed it yet, and he has no intention of signing it. So that basically means that, and I don't know all the details about franchise tags and how exactly they work, But I'm pretty sure that how it would work is he would not be he wouldn't be able to get picked up by any other team this year. And he, unless he signs it, he can't play this year. He would just sit the season. So to me, Dak lost his leverage when he turned down that 33. Everybody's debating this week, who has the leverage, the Cowboys or Dak? And a lot of people are saying Dak. Like, Dak lost the leverage. He had a little leverage left until the Cowboys signed Andy Dalton the other day. That's when Dak lost the rest. I mean, he has little to no leverage right now over the Cowboys. He lost a lot of leverage when he turned down that $33 million deal. So this is why I get irritated with certain sports analysts that are like, getting upset because the Cowboys aren't taking care of Dak. They tried. They tried to take care of. They offered him more than what he's worth. He's not worth $33 million. He is not worth being on par with the pay that Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz, and Jared Goff have gotten. Russell Wilson has carried the Seahawks ever since the Legion of Boom was gone. He's carried them, and still they made the playoffs this year. Carson Wentz, even though he didn't win the MVP the season that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, he had an MVP season, and he should have won. Tom Brady ultimately won because Carson Wentz got hurt in Week 14. But Carson Wentz's numbers were better than Tom Brady, who ultimately won it. And even though it was Nick Foles that was the quarterback the rest of the way after Wentz got hurt, Wentz is the one who put them in that position. He's the one that put them in the position to be a top seed in the playoffs, get to the Super Bowl. You got to give Nick Foles credit, obviously. But Carson Wentz is the one that put him there. He put them in that situation. And then obviously Jared Goff has played MVP level football, not this past season, the season before he did, when the Rams got to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots. So he's at least been to the Super Bowl. Dak Prescott has been a good quarterback. He's been solid. He's been a great leader in the locker room. But he's got all the talent in the world. He has had talent around him that, now granted, Cowboy fans are delusional, but on a real, on paper, they have one of the better rosters in the NFL the last several years when he's been quarterback. And this past season, they finished 8-8. He's not making the playoffs barely. But yet you'd think he deserves superstar money? You think he deserves to be paid on par with Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, and Carson Wentz? Really? When he's got that amount of talent behind him, and you get 8-8, you really think that's what he's worth? And then people make the argument that, he's never missed a game. He's always... So what, we just get paid superstar money for showing up now? Is that how this works? Come on. God, it breaks my face. The fact that people are actually using the argument that, but he always shows up, and that's not what you get paid. You get a good contract for that. He should get paid. Like I said, he already got offered more than what he's worth, but he shouldn't be getting paid superstar money just because you haven't missed a game and you've been solid. He's not elite. He's not elite. If 8-8 and barely making the playoffs is what you do with the type of O-line, the type of running back, the type of receivers, and the type of defense they've had when he's been the quarterback, if that's the best you can do, you don't deserve the same money that Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz, and Jared Goff are getting. You just don't. So, now, on the flip side, I think Dak Prescott's going to get his money. I don't think he's going to sign the franchise tag. He's going to get his money. And the reason why is because the Cowboys always fold. They just always fold. They fold better than any team in the NFL not named the Cleveland Browns. The Dallas Cowboys are just a shinier, prettier version of the Cleveland Browns when you actually take a look at it. That's literally the best analogy I can come up with for what the Cowboys are. They fold on the field. They fold in the front office. They fold in every possible way. They folded with Ezekiel Elliott when they tried to act like, oh, we'll be fine. We have one of the best O-lines. We'll be fine without Zeke. We'll just get a good, solid running back to come in here and do just as good with the O-line that we have. 2 seconds later, they reset the market, giving him the highest contract a running back had at the time. And now Christian McCaffrey holds that spot. But that's what I mean. They're gonna fold. Dak Prescott's it's gonna probably be, I think he's got till late July to get a deal done or to sign the franchise tag, or he's not going to, but mark my words, it's going to be late in the process, but the Cowboys will fold and they will offer him another deal and it'll all be rosy. It's been the Wilbur and Gold Show. Thank you so much for tuning in to the first live show. They'll get better. I'm trying to get used to this, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Those of you who did, all 10 of you probably, if we got to 10. I'm excited for the next one. See you next time.